Doug Kazarian back with you live on Sports Center. And the USA finally breaks that recent trend of nail biters and barely escaping with W's to beat Argentina convincingly, winning by 27 in the quarterfinals. Americans advancing to the semifinals thanks to their 74th straight win. 105-78 your final. By the way, one shy of the all-time record for the U.S., which won 75 straight between 1992 and 2002. So the Americans beat Argentina, a team that eliminated them back in the 2004 Olympics. And for more on this, let's go out to Brazil and welcome in Michael Eaves, who was courtside for the action, also spoke to players. Now, Michael, the final score, like I said, not a nail-biter at the end, but Argentina led 19-9 very early. The U.S. called a timeout, and then what happened?
Well, yeah, that was a very tense moment there for the U.S. team, considering, especially, Doug, how they had played in the last three games. They didn't get up to the start that they had wanted to. But then all of a sudden, Kevin Durant took over. He was the playmaker in this game early on that the team had been so desperately lacking the last three games. He had 5 of their first 13 assists. And then that run ended up being 40-8. And from that point on, USA just put the game away. And it was the squad that had played the first 2 games against China and Venezuela. The defense was so good that the offense just fell into place. You had 4 guys in double digits, led by Kevin Durant's 27. But, again, it was keyed by the defense for the most part. Paul George says we knew we had to really man up defensively and put a lot of pressure on them, and that's exactly what they did. They preached to themselves, according to DeMarcus Cousins, that they didn't want to have the same efforts they had in the last 3 games. They had recognized their mistakes. They wanted to improve on them. It didn't show early, but eventually hit their stride and looked like the Team USA that so many people expected to come down here and take away gold medal.
Yeah, you mentioned the previous 3 games. They won those by a combined 16 points, 2 one-possession games, and then a couple possession game being the third. But this was a 27-point victory. You mentioned talking to Paul George, DeMarcus Cousins. What are these guys saying about why they played so well today, aside from that early 10-point deficit, versus the previous 3 games?
I think those 3 previous games were a little bit of a knock on the head, although they said that against Australia. They said it against after Serbia as well. But, you know, once you get to the elimination round, there is no time to be playing around. You've got to go for yours if you're trying to get the gold medal. And Kyrie Irving said that we know it's going to take more than talent to win. We know we have to play together. Well, that's exactly what they did tonight. You know, sometimes it is easy for guys to fall into, you know, moments of being lackadaisical, especially guys that play at this level and guys that have won championships. They see the other team and they don't have a lot of belief that they can beat them, and they get sucked into that playing down to the level of competition. It's human nature, even though fans don't want to realize that it is human nature at times. But tonight, they played as if they're trying to win the gold medal. They took no chances after falling down 19-9, and they're heading on to the semifinals.
Yeah, next up in those semifinals is Spain, which just beat France convincingly in their quarterfinal match. Now, they beat France, did Spain, and the Americans just played France, gave up nearly 100 points. Spain looked pretty good, winning convincingly. What's the U.S. saying about facing Spain, which a team that they've beaten each of the last 2 Olympics to win the gold? Now they get them in the semis.
They're actually looking forward to it. Boogie says definitely want to see them again. There's familiarity there, even though the U.S. has beaten them lately. A lot of NBA players on that team. They're looking forward to that matchup. There's no question about that.
All right, that matchup is on Friday, so the Americans advance to the semifinals after a convincing win today over Argentina. That's our Michael Eaves from Rio de Janeiro.
All right, Lisa Kearney, Darren Haynes here. It's almost 10 o'clock on the East Coast, and when you're watching the USA men's basketball team, you're wondering, they're only winning by 3 points. Like, what's going on? They have the best players in the NBA, and they showed up today.
They put it together. Paul George talked about this all week long. Well, I say all week long. I feel like it's been forever.
Though.
But since that slim win, 3 points over France on Sunday, he said, we hit defense hard. And I tell you what, they did. They showed up today. Argentina is a team, the last team that had beaten the U.S. Prior to this 23-game stretch now that they have been undefeated. And they gave them a run for about the first 5 minutes. We're
That's
going to
it?
show you exactly what happened.
Only 5 minutes?
Sports Center coming at you right now. Check it out. USA 105, Argentina 78. Team USA moving on in a rout. Their 23rd straight Olympic win behind a huge performance by Kevin Durant, who passed Michael Jordan. I will get into all those details. The U.S. has now won 74 straight games overall. Here's Coach K leading the pack.
Well, I felt that we've been getting better, even though we've had close games, because we're learning more about the international game. And, these teams are very, very good. A lot of NBA players, guys who've been together on their national teams for a long time. So I think we're just getting experience, not just experience playing together, but experience in playing this game. And I think that's what you saw tonight, is that the guys felt a lot more comfortable playing the game.
The teams that we played that gave us a good game, they were even better than, we all probably thought. But, we respect those guys, the way they came out, and every team has played us as tough as possible. We know every night, that every team is going to throw their haymakers, play their best basketball. So I think we're more prepared for that, and knowing that every single night those guys are going to just, give it everything they have.
Kevin Durant is the one who really showed up tonight, passing Michael Jordan for the 4th most points in USA basketball history. Had 27 in the game. He's only 4 points now shy of passing the Admiral, 7 shy of LeBron. By the end of these games, it should be he and Carmelo Anthony at the top of that leaderboard. Team USA now 2 wins away from a 3rd straight gold medal. 6 gold in 7 tries. Mark Stein is in Rio, has seen every single bit of practice in games, joins us now. Mark, this was a completely different team that we've seen throughout the first stretches here after about the first 5 minutes. What was so different for these guys?
Well, they got off to a terrible start, frankly, and Argentina, this is a team they beat by 37 points in July in an exhibition game, really the only exhibition game against what you would call a medal contender. So even the start was a little bit alarming, but then they really ramped up the defense, started forcing turnovers. Durant got hot. You also saw a bit of a lineup change. Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, that's really a twosome that Coach K leans on heavily, but he had some groups out there with really defensive specialists around Kevin Durant, and just all that activity, it sped the game up to the point that Argentina was really uncomfortable. Let's face it, this is an old Argentina team, if we're going to be frank about it. Cornerstone players from that 2004 win, Ginobili, Scola, Nocioni, even Carlos Delfino, they're still playing for this Argentinian national team. So this is a team that realistically the United States should handle and should be beating by 25 plus. But after 3 sluggish games, their confidence wasn't in the best place. So they did the job today, and they're feeling much better about themselves as they now look ahead to Spain on Friday in the semis.
I tell you what, Mark, though, defense is just a commitment. It's a decision to say, hey, I'm going to actually work hard here. Their on-ball defense, the way they read the passing lanes today, I thought far ahead of what we've seen out of them. Have they been talking about their commitment to that side of the game? Why was it so much better today?
No, I mean, defense has been a huge issue for this team, and Mike Krzyzewski was pretty blunt about it at practice on the eve of this game, and he's usually very hesitant to criticize these guys about anything, but he admitted that where the defense was coming into this game has been a bit of a disappointment. The disclaimer that he adds there, though, is that the offensive sophistication we saw from Australia, Serbia, and France in those 3 tight games, there was really no way to prepare for it, because the exhibition games that the United States played, those teams are just not of the same caliber. And it's not like Team USA didn't want to play better teams in its warm-up games. I remember in the 2012 Olympics in London, Team USA played Spain and Argentina in exhibition games before those London Olympics. The problem this time was getting the top teams to come to the United States on the way to Brazil. None of them wanted to. So outside of the 1 game against Argentina, 2 against China, Venezuela, Nigeria, it was not ideal preparation. And when they got confronted by Australia, Serbia, and France, it was a big step up in class. But now the same thing's going to happen going to the semifinals, because Spain all of a sudden is really playing the best basketball in this tournament. So they're going to have to play Spain a round earlier than normal. Friday is going to be a red alert game. It is a game that they could legitimately lose if they don't bring it.
What do you expect, Mark?
I actually expect them to play the best game they've played in this tournament because they know Spain is a known quantity. Pau Gasol, obviously, still the centerpiece of that team and someone that these guys know very well. I think they're going to be really locked in. But again, Spain has been it's been a bizarre tournament for them. They started out losing to Croatia and Brazil. Turns out their preparations coming into this tournament were a mess. And then they looked very ordinary against Nigeria. So, I mean, Spain wasn't looking anything like Spain. They beat Lithuania by 50. And that's changed everything with this Spanish team. And now they're just absolutely rolling. They throttled Argentina, and they beat France tonight by 25 in basically sending Tony Parker in an international retirement. So Spain has everybody's attention now, but I do think the United States is feeling better about itself. And I still say they win gold. I still say they find a way to beat Spain on Friday, but it's going to be tense and nervy because, again, Spain is playing really well.
Mark Stein saying it could be their best game we've seen yet. Two teams, again, feeling really good about themselves. USA and Spain in the semis on Friday. Mark, we'll talk to you then. Thanks a lot.